Have you ever felt a sudden wave of sadness in a room full of laughing people? Or felt a strange humming anxiety in your body only to find out later that a distant friend was in crisis? Have you ever walked away from a conversation with someone who was smiling, but you felt as if you had been in a storm? And you asked yourself that quiet, crazy-making question, am I imagining this? You are not imagining it, and you are not crazy. You are simply listening to a radio that is tuned to more frequencies than most. The most confusing feelings you experience are not a sign that your emotional compass is broken. They are a sign that your compass is calibrated to a much finer, more sensitive degree. It is picking up on the hidden layers of reality, the shadow conversations, the unspoken truths, the archetypal resonances that flow beneath the surface of everyday life. The problem is not your perception. The problem is your lack of a dictionary to translate it. For years, you have been given the wrong labels for your experiences. Anxiety, overthinking, too emotional. Today, we throw those old labels away. And, guided by the deep wisdom of Carl Jung, we begin to build a new one, a more accurate one, the Empath's Dictionary. In this conversation, we will give a name to 5 of these profound and often misunderstood perceptions. We will understand their Jungian meaning, and we will take the first step in moving from being a passive sponge for these feelings to becoming a conscious interpreter. It is time to trust your instrument. First, we must learn its language.
Your psyche is not a fortress with solid walls. It is more like a garden with a very low fence. For the perceptive soul, this fence is permeable, porous. You feel the world, not just with your 5 senses, but with your entire being. This is both your greatest gift and, if untrained, your heaviest burden. Today, we are learning to label the strange weather patterns that blow through your garden, so you can stop mistaking another person's storm for your own. Let us begin with the first and most common feeling on our dictionary. Let's call it emotional sponging. Here is the experience. You walk into a room, your office, a family gathering, feeling perfectly fine, neutral, calm. You spend an hour there. You have a few polite conversations. Nothing dramatic happens. But when you walk out, you feel exhausted, depleted. Perhaps you feel a heavy, clinging sadness you cannot explain, or a jittery anxiety that wasn't there before. You have just sponged the emotional residue of the room. Like a sponge in dirty water, you have unconsciously absorbed the unspoken anxieties, the repressed anger, and the latent grief of the people around you. You did not catch their feelings, you absorbed them. Let's imagine Chloe. She's a nurse. She spends an hour providing compassionate care to a patient who is stoic, brave, and insists they are fine. Chloe leaves the room, and on her way down the hall, she is suddenly overwhelmed by a wave of profound sadness. She has to duck into a supply closet to keep from crying. Her conscious mind is confused. What is wrong with me? Nothing sad just happened. But her unconscious knows the truth. She has just absorbed the unshed tears of her patient, the grief that their brave persona could not allow them to feel. Her body has become a container for their shadow. From a Jungian perspective, this happens because of weak ego boundaries. For the person who was parentified, or who learned to fawn, the line between me and you is blurry. Your survival once depended on merging with the emotional state of others. As an adult, this survival skill runs on autopilot. You are a walking emotional sponge, and it is utterly exhausting. So, the next time you feel a sudden, inexplicable shift in your mood after being with someone, I invite you to pause and ask the first question of our dictionary, a question that can change everything. Is this feeling mine, or did I just pick it up? Just asking the question begins to create a separation. It begins to build a fence. Now, for the second feeling. This one is more subtle and more crazy-making. Let's call it Incongruence Dissonance. Here is the experience. You are talking to someone, a coworker, a new acquaintance. They are smiling. They are using all the right words. It's so great to see you. Everything is fantastic. Their words are a perfect sunny day. But your body is in a Category 5 hurricane. Your stomach is in knots. Your jaw is tight. Your shoulders are up around your ears. Your rational mind is completely confused. It's in an argument with your body. The mind says, "But they're being so nice. I should like them. I should feel relaxed." The body says, "Lies, danger. This is not safe." This internal war between your mind's interpretation and your body's data is incongruence dissonance. This is your emotional radar, superpower in action. From a Jungian perspective, your intuition is not just a gut feeling. It is a highly sophisticated perceptual function. And what it is detecting is the massive, yawning gap between the other person's persona and their shadow. Their persona, their social mask, is saying, "I am friendly and happy." But their shadow, the repressed energy underneath, is screaming with rage or jealousy or desperation. And your nervous system is hearing the scream, not the whisper. Let's go back to Chloe. She's at a party, talking to another nurse, Jessica. Jessica is telling a funny story about her vacation, laughing and smiling. But Chloe feels a cold dread. Her body wants to back away. The old Chloe would have shamed herself. "What's wrong with me? Jessica is lovely. Why am I being so judgmental?" She would have forced herself to smile, to engage, to be nice. But the new Chloe, the Chloe who is learning this new language, pauses. She observes the dissonance. She trusts the data from her body over the performance of the other person. She doesn't have to confront Jessica. She doesn't have to understand it. She simply honors the signal. She politely excuses herself from the conversation. She is not being rude. She is being an excellent scientist of the human soul. She is trusting her instrument. This feeling, this dissonance, is one of your most valuable protective gifts. It is your built-in lie detector. But you have been taught your entire life to ignore it, to call it anxiety or being judgmental. The second question in our dictionary is a reclamation of this power. When your body and your mind are in conflict about a person, when their words say one thing and your nervous system says another, ask yourself, does their energy match their words? And then have the radical courage to trust the answer your body gives you, not the answer you think you should have. This is the beginning of shadow work in real time. It is learning to see not just the mask that people present to the world, but the vast, complex, and truthful reality that lives in the shadow.
Your instrument does not only pick up the frequencies of the people in the room. Sometimes it tunes into a much older, much deeper broadcast. A broadcast that is not personal, but universal.
This brings us to the third feeling in our dictionary. Let's call it archetypal resonance. Here is the experience. You meet someone for the first time, a new boss, a potential partner, or even a stranger on the street, and you feel an instant, powerful, and completely irrational reaction to them. It could be a feeling of profound trust and familiarity, as if you have known them for 1,000 years. Or it could be a feeling of deep, primal mistrust and repulsion for no logical reason. It feels bigger than the two of you. It feels mythic, like you have just stepped into a scene from a fairy tale or an ancient story. What is happening here is one of the most mysterious and powerful concepts in all of Jungian psychology. You are not just reacting to the individual person in front of you. You are reacting to the archetype that they have activated within your own psyche. Archetypes, as Jung described them, are the ancient universal patterns and images that are part of our collective unconscious. The mother, the hero, the trickster, the wise old man. When you meet someone who, for whatever reason, embodies one of these archetypes for you, your soul recognizes the pattern. Your reaction is not to the person, but to the ancient story they represent. Let's imagine Chloe is interviewing for a new position as a nursing home administrator. She meets the director, an older woman named Margaret. Margaret is kind, professional, nothing out of the ordinary. But Chloe feels an overwhelming sense of safety and wisdom emanating from her. She finds herself wanting to tell Margaret all of her problems, to seek her guidance. Her logical mind is confused. She's just a potential boss. But her soul is resonating. Margaret has activated the wise old woman or good mother archetype within Chloe. This resonance is a powerful piece of data. It is a signal from the deepest part of her psyche, a sign of a potential mentorship, a safe harbor. The third question in our dictionary helps you to work with this. When you have a strong, irrational reaction to someone, ask yourself, what is the bigger story happening here? What ancient role is this person playing in my inner theater? This question shifts you from personal reaction to mythic observation. Now let's turn to a feeling that is less about others and more about the landscape of your own life's journey. The fourth feeling, liminal space anxiety. Here is the experience. You are in the middle of a major life transition. You have just left a long-term relationship. You have quit a job you hated, but you do not know what is next. You have moved to a new city, and you feel unmoored, disoriented. It is not quite depression, though there is sadness. It is not quite anxiety, though there is a restless energy. It is the deeply uncomfortable feeling of floating, the feeling of no longer being the person you were, but not yet being the person you are becoming. This in-between space, this hallway between two rooms, is a liminal space, and the anxiety you feel there is liminal space anxiety. From a Jungian perspective, this is the lived, felt experience of being in the dark night of the soul. It is the chaos of the chrysalis. The old caterpillar self is gone. The new butterfly self has not yet formed. You are in the nutrient soup of possibility, and it can feel terrifying because the ego loves identity. It loves solid ground, and in a liminal space, there is no solid ground. If you are feeling this, you are not failing. You are not stuck. You are in the most fertile, creative, and transformative stage of your entire life. The fourth question in our dictionary is a surrender to this process.
When you feel this floating, disoriented anxiety, ask yourself, what old identity is ready to be shed to allow the new one to emerge? This question helps you to partner with the process instead of fighting it. And this leads us to the final and most beautiful feeling in our dictionary today, a feeling that is a direct message from the self. Let's call it numinous awe. Here is the experience. You are going about your ordinary day, and suddenly, something shifts. You are watching a sunset, and it is not just a pretty sky. You feel a profound, heart-achingly beautiful connection to the entire cosmos. You are listening to a piece of music, and a wave of emotion so powerful washes over you that it brings you to tears. Or you experience a moment of profound synchronicity. You are thinking of an old friend you haven't seen in years, and at that exact moment, they call you. And you feel it. A sense of wonder, a sense of meaning. The feeling that you have just peeked behind the curtain of ordinary reality and witnessed the presence of a sacred, intelligent, and benevolent order. This feeling is numinous awe. For Carl Jung, these numinous moments are the goal of the psychological journey. They are direct encounters with the self, the ordering principle of wholeness at the center of your psyche. They are not just nice feelings. They are moments of profound healing and realignment. They are your soul's way of reminding you that you are part of a story that is much, much bigger than your personal dramas. It is a taste of home. So the final question in our dictionary is a simple act of receiving. When one of these numinous moments graces your life, do not dismiss it as a coincidence. Pause, breathe it in, and ask, what message from the deepest part of myself is trying to be heard? These 5 feelings, from the mundane to the mythic, are just the first few words in your soul's vast and beautiful dictionary. And the journey is in the translation.
To have a sensitive radio is one thing. To learn how to work the tuning dial is another. For your entire life, you have been a passive receiver, a weather vane, spinning in the chaotic winds of other people's emotional storms. You have been a sponge, soaking in a world of feelings you did not understand, and it has left you heavy, saturated, exhausted. The great insight of all deep shadow work is that we are not here to get rid of our sensitivity. We are here to build a relationship with it. The goal is not to turn the radio off. The goal is to move from being the passive weather vane to becoming the conscious meteorologist. The meteorologist feels the change in the air, yes. They see the storm coming, but they are not the storm. They observe it. They name it. They understand it. They have moved from unconscious reaction to conscious interpretation. This is the shift from being a receiver to being an interpreter. And in that shift lies all your power. So how do we begin? We begin by creating a conscious space between feeling and being, between what you perceive and who you are. Let's imagine Chloe one last time. She is at work. Her colleague, Mark, comes to her desk. Mark has a smile on his face, but he is complaining about a project. His voice tight, his energy frantic. The old Chloe, the emotional sponge, would have immediately absorbed his anxiety. Her own stomach would have clenched. Her own heart would have started beating faster. She would have felt a desperate urge to fix his problem, to soothe his anxiety, to make him feel better. She would have left that conversation feeling drained, anxious, and carrying a burden that was never hers. But this is the new Chloe, the Chloe with a dictionary. She stands there, and Mark begins to speak. And she feels it, that familiar jolt of anxiety in her own body. The storm is beginning. But this time, something is different. She remembers. Instead of merging with the feeling, a quiet observer inside her awakens. She feels the anxiety in her stomach, and instead of becoming it, she simply notices it. Her inner voice doesn't say, "Oh no, I'm anxious." Her inner voice says, "Ah, data has arrived." She hears the dissonance between Mark's smiling face and his frantic energy. Her inner voice doesn't say, "He's a liar." It says, "Incongruence, dissonance. The energy and the words do not match." She feels his unspoken stress wanting to pour into her. Her inner voice doesn't panic. It says, "Emotional sponging is attempting to happen." She does not have to do anything. She does not have to say anything different. But by simply naming the experience as it is happening, she has created a sacred, invisible shield. She is no longer the storm. She is the meteorologist watching the storm on her radar screen. She can listen with compassion. She can nod with understanding. But she is no longer absorbing. She is observing. She ends the conversation and she walks away, still in her own body, still with her own energy. She has just performed an act of profound psychological magic. This magic is a skill you can learn. It is a practice, a simple daily ritual of translation. I call it the Name It to Tame It journal. Here is the practice. For this week, create a new section in your journal. Title it My Emotional Dictionary. And when you experience one of these complex, confusing feelings that we have talked about, a sudden wave of sadness, that dissonance, that feeling of being drained, I invite you to take just 2 minutes, and you will answer 3 simple prompts. First, confess the feeling without judgment. You simply write, "Right now, I am feeling a strange, heavy sadness that doesn't feel like mine." Or, "I just had a conversation with my sister and my body is buzzing with anxiety." Just state the raw data. Second, try on a definition. Look at our new dictionary. Which word fits best? You write, "This feels like emotional sponging," or "I think this is incongruence dissonance." You are not making a final diagnosis. You are simply trying on a new label, a new lens. And third, state the evidence. Why do you think it's that? "This feels like sponging because I felt fine before I talked to my friend who was going through a hard time." Or, "This feels like dissonance because my boss was praising my work, but his body language felt tense and dismissive." What you are doing in this simple 2-minute practice is revolutionary for your nervous system. The act of naming a feeling, of describing it, moves the experience from the reactive, emotional part of your brain, the limbic system, to the observing, executive part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. You are literally, neurologically, moving out of the storm and into the weather control tower. You are not trying to stop the feeling. You are changing your relationship to it. You are no longer the feeling. You are the space that holds the feeling. You are the consciousness that is aware of the feeling. And in that space is peace. In that space is power. This is the beginning of the end of your emotional exhaustion.
Today, we have opened the first chapter of a new dictionary. A dictionary for the secret, subtle language of the soul. We have given a name to 5 profound experiences that have, until now, likely lived in the shadows of your confusion. Emotional sponging, the unconscious absorption of other people's feelings. Incongruence dissonance, the body's alarm bell for inauthenticity. Archetypal resonance, the mythic echo you feel when you meet a certain soul. Liminal space anxiety, the sacred disorientation between who you were and who you are becoming. And numinous awe, a direct encounter with the divine, hidden in the ordinary. This is more than just a list of words. This is a validation. It is proof that you are not crazy. You are not too emotional. You are a finely tuned instrument, perceiving a world of depth and meaning that many others miss. The pain you have felt has not come from the perception itself, but from the lack of a language to understand it. The practice of name it to tame it is your first step in becoming a fluent translator. It is the beginning of a profound shift in identity, from being a passive victim of the emotional weather to becoming a conscious observer of it. From being a sponge, saturated and heavy, to being a witness, clear and sovereign. This is the heart of Jung's work, to bring the unconscious into consciousness, to turn shadow into awareness. Your invitation for this week is to become an archaeologist of your own inner world. Create your dictionary. When a strange feeling arises, do not run from it. Turn towards it with curiosity. Practice the simple 2-minute act of naming it. Confess, define, state the evidence. You are not trying to get it right. You are simply building a relationship with your own deep wisdom. To make this commitment to becoming a conscious interpreter of your own soul, I invite you to share in the comments below. Which of the 5 feelings we explored today was the biggest aha moment for you? Emotional sponging, incongruence dissonance, archetypal resonance, liminal space anxiety, or numinous awe? By sharing the word that resonated most, you are helping to build a shared language for our entire community. You are helping someone else feel less alone. But as you begin this practice, as you start to pay closer attention to the vast amount of data your system is processing every single day, you will naturally begin to feel a new and powerful need. A need for quiet, a need for space, a need to retreat from the noise of the world so you can better hear the whispers of your own soul. This is not antisocial. It is a sign of your evolution. But this sacred need for solitude can be deeply misunderstood and even frightening to the people around you. Why do you love solitude? And why does that scare other people? That is the rich and vital territory we will explore in our next conversation.